Let's just recap this week, right? Let's recap this week. So, this week has been a interesting week because this is the first week of February, right? And with this being like the first week of February, if you've seen the last episode already, I will still reiterate it because I'm really trying to live in my purpose right now for this month. I mean, in general, but this month, I think this will help me, right? As you know, as of the last episode, right? The grind begins. Yo, and I really feel like the first week of February, the grind has been. So I'm gonna have to turn it up some. We're at the end of the week now, as far as recording this next episode 4, season 2, I guess episode 14 of the Prime Feeling podcast, right? And I'm just kind of like, I'm learning as I go. Which it's a beautiful thing because I already knew that I kind of have done some of the work as far as, like, when I say learn as I go, it's more so like, I mean, obviously, yeah, as you keep moving forward in your life, you learn as you go so that you're not just moving forward making mistakes, right? Or at least if you make mistakes, you're learning from them so that you don't make as many moving forward, right? That is my perspective. So this week, I think I posted, what did I post this past week? I posted a reaction to the Fantastic Four trailer. That was fun. The teaser trailer for Fantastic Four. The first time I had watched Fantastic Four was when I was like, I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was like a sleepover. One of my friends, I was part of like my circle back then, he had the Fantastic Four film with, you know, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, the rest of them, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad that I have to say the rest of them, but I really don't know Mr. Fantastic. To me, he's the OG Mr. Fantastic. But from what I've seen, it seems like that's not the first Fantastic Four film to come out, right? And so, I don't remember his name, but Jessica Alba is Jessica Alba, and Chris Evans is Captain America. Yo, am I the only one that once the MCU like really started and we got that first Captain America film, and even with the second, just Cap in general, like Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America compared to Human Torch, right? Acting, I know, I get it, it's acting, but like that's a different person to me. I'm sorry, like Human Torch, even the Human Torch that we got teased in Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, that didn't feel like Human Torch all the way, but it felt like Human Torch in that universe, right? So I reacted to that. That was fun. As far as my thoughts with the Fantastic Four First Steps teaser trailer that came out, I've never been a fan of the Fantastic Four, and it's not that I hate them, because I don't hate the Fantastic Four. It's just more so like I've always been very neutral about it. Like, if you guys have seen any of my videos, you see the Mighty Morphin Shogun Megazord back there. If y'all know, that's a Power Rangers Megazord, right? It's a Power Rangers mech, right? A lot of people know Power Rangers. Some people don't get as deep with Power Rangers as I do, because maybe it was just something in their life at a time in their life that it was good for that time and they just moved on. Whatever it might be, they might have no attachments to it. Me, I'm different. But I say all that to say, when it comes to the Fantastic Four trailer and Fantastic Four in general, as someone that doesn't read comics or like manga at all right now, I can understand and also be able to, I guess, express that, hey, listen, I know there's people that don't fuck with this shit, but I still love Power Rangers. There's someone that might listen to this episode, right? And they might really, really like the Fantastic Four. And they might enjoy the segment, they might not, because of just how I express myself during this part of the episode, because I'm not the biggest fan of the Fantastic Four. If you agree, don't forget to like this video and comment why you don't like the Fantastic Four either. I really like the retro, like the modern retro vibes of the Fantastic Four, though. I did really appreciate that in the teaser trailer. I was talking to my cousin about this, and it kind of gave me, like Incredibles vibes, right? Because when you watch The Incredibles, you don't know what time period The Incredibles takes place, right? But if you watch it and pay attention, you know The Incredibles probably takes place like in the 60s, 70s, something like that. You might actually be able to look it up, but at least for me, I can't think of that at the top of my head. I'm just judging and talking about this based off of what I've seen and what I've heard, right? And so I like that vibe of superheroes like in the 60s, but it's advanced, like it's modern. Like, I really like that. And it's very interesting that they are saying that, not Marvel, but like the discussion around this film is that, or at least one of the theories is that this is like the Fantastic Four that's supposed to be in the 616 universe, aka the MCU universe that we're used to, right? And so it's interesting to me because I'm like, how are they gonna write this? And also too, if you guys have been following just the King Kishi channel in general, right? And not just the podcast, if you've been following the channel in general, you know I've reacted to the teaser trailer of the Superman trailer. I also reacted to the One Eye on Gotham, One Eye on Metropolis trailer too. I reacted to that trailer too. If you know, you know. But yeah, so it's interesting. Again, I say this again, I'm gonna save it for later. I'm not gonna say it's interesting again because I like to say things are interesting, because whenever I say something is interesting, it just means that this is interesting. How is this going to play out? I can't quite fathom or even express the words that will come out of my mouth to make sure everything is aligned in that way. But it's just interesting. It's interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. It's interesting. Because my thoughts are this when it comes to fiction, right? Superhero fiction, right? Or more so like just superhero franchises when it comes to media. The TV shows, the films. I didn't want to say this before, but after everything we went through in 2024, I think we're kind of going towards the end of the golden age of superhero media, per se. Because the thing about these superhero films, right? Even like a Fantastic Four, right? Or a Superman. All of these films are derived from the comic book stories, right? And although, yes, I don't read comic books, I don't read manga, I can still wiki these things. I can still look up these things. There's still people I watch that do read manga and do read comic books that kind of inform me on some of these things, right? That inform me on, like, I've said this before on the channel, RIP Comic Storian, but Comic Storian was literally one of the first, like, comic book YouTube channels to educate me on the vast amount of just stories that us as quote unquote, because y'all are Marvel fans, right? This is really speaking to people that like Marvel, people that like DC. If y'all are real fans, go check out the comic books. Literally, check out the comic books. Do I? No, but check it out because there's a lot of interesting stories. Or at least check out the channels that share these stories. Like, I love Comics. I love Comics Explained. I love Comic Story, right? So those are good channels to check out when it comes to that, in my opinion. Those are the people that I watch. Can't think of no one else right now. Shout out M Enterprises too. Shout out M Enterprises. I like that dude. I like him. I like him. Um, but yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that we're kind of going through a down period of superhero media, in that these past 4 years, it's crazy what people have had to go through in the US from 2020 to now. And some people might chalk it up to politics. I'm not going to get too deep into the politics of that, but maybe we might see a change now, politics wise, with all this stuff. But maybe not. Me personally, I really do strongly feel that I'm going to stop talking about superhero content now, just because of the fact that politics has really ruined superhero media. And I think a lot of people know that. If you got common sense, you know that. And if not, you might be a sheep, right? Just because we got a black Spider-Man doesn't mean he's a good black Spider-Man. And I'm not saying that for salaciousness. I'm just saying that to say, like, everyone does deserve to be represented, but at the same time to represent people the right way that is authentic to that person's experience, right? Is comic book characters fiction? I get it. I'm not saying I don't like Miles Morales. I actually love Miles Morales. I just can't stand PS5 Miles Morales. I can't stand the PlayStation Miles Morales though. But I say all that to say that I think that is what has ruined a lot of what has come out these past 4 years. Soon to be 5, but let's keep it at 4. Actually, no, not 4, 5. 2020 to 2024 is 5 years. So really 5 years, right? And what am I trying to get at here? So we're talking about Spider-Man. We're talking about the Fantastic Four. Dang. I honestly lost my train of thought, low-key, as far as like what I wanted to talk about next. But to flesh out like what we're talking about here, right? Ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is that I've learned a lot in these past 5 years. And I was talking to my cousin about this too. I talked to my cousin about everything. Like, y'all might eventually see him on the channel or hear him on the channel in some way, shape, or form. Shout out my cousin Ralph. He's been in the chat during the streams and all that stuff. I appreciate you. I love you, bro. But I was talking to him about just superhero content in general when it comes to outside of comic books, right? And so superhero content is kind of going through a down period, like I said earlier, right? But the highlights of the superhero, here's the downsides of the superhero content, right? As to what has really led to this point. We've gotten shows, sadly, I hate to say it, but we've gotten shows like Captain America and The Winter Soldier. We've gotten shows, we've gotten shows like Moon Knight, although that's kind of up in the air. Some people actually like Moon Knight. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I never knew what to think of it. I think Moon Knight might be a very niche superhero. But Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, who personally, guilty pleasure for me, I would actually probably rewatch Miss Marvel right now. I actually really like the actress that plays her. Why do I love Miss Marvel? Video games. Video games are why I love Miss Marvel. Because I was literally playing the Avengers game on my Xbox One for a few years. And Kamala Khan is probably one of my favorite characters to play with in that game. I was so surprised to the point where it's like, oh snap, like I got invested into the character in that way, right? But that's me because I love playing video games. I'm not really a reader like that. I want to get better about my readings. I do read, but like I don't read like that. I need to read more. But that game made me really appreciate Kamala Khan for like who she is. So when we got the Miss Marvel TV show, I didn't mind it. I do feel like the portrayal could have been a little different. It could have been tweaked a bit. You know what I'm saying? Kamala is very much a fangirl. Not Kamala Harris, and not Kalala either. But Kamala Khan is very much a fangirl. So I just feel like they really captured her character well. Right? And I think ultimately what I'm trying to get at is that when it comes to superhero content, it's at a point now where if Superman isn't successful and Fantastic Four First Steps isn't successful, and when I say success, let me define what I mean by success. There is the technically this was successful, right? So the amount of money that they make in the box office, the amount of the budget, making sure they break even, all those things, that's successful. All those things form into one thing. So they were financially successful, right? If they are able to do that. Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps, right? For 2025, right? And then, how do I put this? And then there is a movie actually even good to watch? Like, do people actually watch the movie and enjoy the movie? Do they want to rewatch the movie? There is also that, right? And a lot of the times, as much as people like to say this, and personally, I've been on this wave since The Last Jedi. Like, I don't consider myself a red pill guy in any type of way, or at least at us. But literally, I don't consider myself the bad red pill. I feel like, for me, I feel like Neo taking the red pill, right? So for me, I look at things as they are. And I've been seeing this coming since The Last Jedi. Didn't know it at first, because when you get films like The Last Jedi, you start to think about, what's the right word? When you get films like The Last Jedi, you start to think like, oh, here are these franchises that I appreciate, but maybe the people that are making these stories for these franchises, they don't appreciate it the way we do, right? And I think it's been a build up, right? To where we are at now. And where we're at now is kind of like, how do I put it? We're at the breaking point. Legit. If this Superman movie flops financially, like, if it flops with the audience, DC might be cooked. DC really thought that they were doing something with James Gunn, and I really do actually want them to cook. I said this in my recent reaction, one of my recent reactions to the Superman trailer, one eye on God, one eye, anyways. But I said this in my recent reaction. I really appreciate Creature Commandos. I really appreciate that show. And I feel like it has James Gunn's touch on that, right? And because I feel that James Gunn might have some potential now, I'm like, I don't want him to fail. I don't. I talk a lot of shit. I do. I talk a lot of shit. But it's just shit talking. It's just shit talking. Like, I'm literally just talking my shit. Because at the end of the day, is that not what you're supposed to do as a content creator? No, I'm not talking shit just to talk shit, but I am talking shit like, hey, listen, bro, you got some big shoes to fill, James Gunn, because you are essentially stepping into the role as Kevin Feige for DC. I really want you to I really want the best for you too, because I've seen your resume. When it comes to the films and shows that you've done, I've seen most of them. And to be honest, my opinion on everything that I've seen from him is pretty much like, it's not mid, but it's like, I've appreciated all of those films that he's done in one way or another, right? So I want him to be successful. When it comes to the MCU, obviously I want the MCU to be successful too. But yeah, like, if people aren't fucking with this, if I'm not fucking with this, Like, if I don't appreciate the story of the Fantastic Four of what we get this year, and even how that connects to the MCU overall, that is really the MCU's problem. Everything has to be connected. And I've adjusted to wanting everything to be connected to now I'm kind of like, everything doesn't have to be connected. You can make things connected via post-credit scene. And I hope James Gunn takes that same approach, that you don't have to have everything in this Superman movie to tell us like there's going to be a universe. But I know he probably will. I know the film is probably going to be done that way, right? Sorry for all this like long yapping, y'all. But long story short, if these movies flop, like back to what I was just saying a little bit, like a couple minutes ago, right? If these movies flop, it's over with. It's over with. And no matter what a Marvel or a Warner Brothers does, no matter what a Disney or a Warner Brothers does to kind of fluff the numbers, make things look pretty for these films, it might be it for mainstream media superheroes. That's all I can say. Like, yeah, I'm not talking about The Boys. I'm not talking about Invincible, or any other superhero TV show or related. I'm not talking about TV shows like The Penguin. The Penguin was really good. I don't know if James Gunn had his hands on that, but The Penguin was alright. It was alright. And if you know, you know. You know. Like I said, I've said this either in another video or another podcast episode, but literally one of my favorite movies, older movies to watch, is The Godfather. So of course I love The Penguin. I've never watched The Sopranos. Maybe at some point I will, because I think that's going to go down as probably one of the shows that, like, I'm the type of person that I've seen a lot of things in my life, a lot of TV shows, a lot of films, but there's still the, oh, you haven't seen this though. Like, once you see this, and I know, and I'll get to that when I get to that. Yeah, man. Superheroes might be cooked after this. As far as like mainstream, I don't even look at stuff like The Boys or Invincible as mainstream either. I think that's more so internet culture, which internet culture is mainstream, right? But I don't know if it really translates in that way compared to, oh, Superman movie came out and it was great, and you know what I mean? That's all I can say. But I do love Invincible. I haven't watched the first episode yet as of this recording, but I will very, very soon. And The Boys, listen, I literally did a whole review to the finale of The Boys. Why did I do it? I was just trying shit. It happens. You know what I mean? When you're a creator, you try stuff. You see what works, you see what doesn't work, right? Yeah. Now, besides the superhero stuff, besides the superhero stuff, another thing I wanted to talk about was, I guess the podcast in general, or not even the podcast. Maybe I'll save that for another episode. I'll save it for another episode. But yeah, I kind of want to wrap up this episode with kind of a, what's the right word to say? I don't want to say like a note or a letter to the people that end up seeing this episode fully or listening to this episode fully. Let it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. Today was a day. Honestly, today and yesterday was a day. Like, long story short, I pay rent, right? And so, your boy paid rent last week. Y'all know how it is when it comes to rent. Basically, because when I tell you guys, I am not the type that likes to gossip or anything like that. I like to talk about stuff, you know. There's gossip like, hey, Robert Downey Jr. might be in the post-credit scene of Fantastic Four of the first steps, right? But then there's gossip like, oh, but by the way, Robert Downey Jr. was doing some stuff with the actress that plays Invisible Woman, and that kind of messed up the vibes on set for Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic, who was played by Pedro Pascal. That's rumors. That's gossip. That's rumors. That's gossip to me, right? That's where shit starts to get messy. Like, we're talking about actual people versus like, this is what these people do, something like that. That's how I look at it personally. So I just say all this to say, like, yeah, man, this rent shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie, the people that I pay rent to, they messed up. They messed up. And to be honest, I was pissed, as anyone would be, as any listener who's listened to this episode not now would be, right? And man, that shit pissed me off, bro. Cause I was like, it's like, when you're right. Like, you're literally right. You're literally right, right? You're literally right. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you're planning the argument and I'm stacking a bunch of evidence for the argument, because it's like, y'all are just wrong. My energy going into all of this stuff because I needed to speak with them, obviously, because it's like, hey, look, you're saying that my joint you're saying I paid late, but like, nah, I paid you. I just say all this to say that this has been a week. This has really been a week. From dealing with your rent being late when it's like, nah, I wasn't late. Man, I just say all this to say, like, man, there's so much stuff that we go through every week, every day of our lives sometimes. And quite literally, your brain will probably just adjust to it, right? Damn, these neighbors be loud as fuck sometimes when I'm recording or streaming. And they might be like, damn, there he is yelling again after losing that fight on Sparking Zero. But I can hear you guys. Anyways, let me stop. I'm a nice person, guys. I'm a nice person. I promise. So honestly, after having this debacle with rent and all this stuff, man, I just need to continue to grind moving forward. The grind is going to continue. The grind will continue. What is the title of this episode? I probably already said at some point earlier in the episode and whatnot, right? Regardless, the rent stuff, that's situated. We good. So I wasn't saying all that to say, like, listen, y'all, my life is shit and I need you to help me out and, like, go after somebody or whatever, some shit like that, like how some creators do. Nah, it's not that for me. It's not that for me. But I just say all that to say, like, listen, man, it's been a week, and this week could have gone very differently, sure, but the experiences that I've had in my life have prepared me for this. And yeah, this first week of February has not been the greatest with content. I'm still streaming on Saturdays and Sundays. I don't care. I'm streaming on Saturdays and Sundays at least. If the content is a little bit light this first week, but going into next week and for the remainder of this month, just wait. I don't want to say nothing. Listen, I just want to be about it. And that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that, right? So just to wrap up the episode, honestly, that was the prime feeling. If you guys enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're listening or watching on YouTube. Anywhere else, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, don't forget to rate it or review it or follow it if you have been enjoying it. Honestly, that's all I ask. Honestly. But yeah, when this episode comes out, it'll probably be like the middle of the week or something like that. So all these events that have occurred, it probably would have been probably a week ago or some shit like that. I don't know. But yeah, y'all take care. Be easy. Remember, feed your passion and don't feed into your emotions. Listen, I've had an episode on that too. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. Don't. Because I was literally so ready. To just go in on these people about rent. I sent the email too. I sent the email. I sent the whole email. Oh man. Oh man. Y'all will learn to know me though. Y'all will learn to know me. Because I am that type of guy.